Today I'm going to cover the tuck press to handstand. Now I'd recommend if you want to get super strong at handstands that you do work a press handstand of some sort. Either the straddle or the tuck is what I'd recommend. The tuck press is really good because it will open the door, especially if you want to do something like a Stalder press. So let's start off with just the warm up. So the warm up, I'm going to make sure that I get into the thoracic, into the upper back. So I'm opening the back up with a foam roller or a yoga block or a bit of both. I'm going to go through a shoulder stretch, so the normal one with the hips above the knees, up onto fingertips, looking at the fingers as I take the chest towards the floor. Really trying to be in a posterior tilt, keep the toes pushed into the floor, so we concentrate on the area of that upper back shoulder area. Now this is going to be a little bit different for everyone depending on what range you have in your thoracic and shoulders, but make sure you're fully warmed up through there. I'm then going to go into the hips. Now we can do a normal hip flexor hamstring stretch, but also make sure that you go into the pigeon's position or that external rotation of the hip, just to make sure that you can sit comfortably into a squat position will make it much easier to go into a tuck handstand. I love to use this particular one in classes, so just from a kneeling position, put the thumbs beside the knees and then straighten the legs and go up onto tiptoes, so it puts all the weight into the hands and shoulders. It's a great stretch for the hamstrings, but it also preps the wrists, the shoulders and the upper back. And make sure your wrists are fully warmed up before you go into the handstand. And then I'm just going to explore my tuck handstand. So I'm going to get into a point where I'm comfortable in my level of tuck. So that could be up against the wall with back to wall, butt touching, or if you want to work on the mobility still, flip yourself around and make sure that the knees are at 90 degrees or the hips are at 90 degrees and the shoulders are on top of the hands. And you could either do a hold there or you could open and close from tuck to straight. And if you have it, obviously the freestanding version is there as well. So I'm just going to warm the shoulders up even more with some wall leans. So I'm just going from this straight position and then I'm going to close the shoulders and open the shoulders in and out of the open and closed position. Even when I'm closed, I'm still holding a strong position. So when I touch the wall with the shoulders and upper back, I'm still in a pushed strong position up against the wall and not collapsing into the position. Once I've done that, I'm going to test my eccentric. So the eccentric just means that can I go down slowly with control and kiss the toes to the floor. So if I'm doing it freestanding, it will be a straight handstand, go down into my deepest tuck, roll down through the spine, and to the point where if I just straighten the legs, my tippy toes will touch the floor. If I can't do that, I can do exactly the same thing against the wall. So I'm going to put everything against the wall. I'm going to put my shoulders, all of my back and my legs against the wall. I'm going to push my low back especially in towards the wall as I start to bring the knees down. Now if I struggle with this one, I can open the legs a little bit wider. I don't have to have the legs together, but that's the ideal. I could play around with the distance my hands are away from the wall. Just make sure if you are going further away from the wall to turn the hands out so it's not too hard on the wrists. And as I come down, I'm going to try and keep the butt on the wall for as long as possible, then the low back on the wall, and then mid back, upper back to be glued against the wall as I try and straighten the legs towards the floor. Now there is two variations of the wall version when I've got back to wall. I could put my shoulders and all of my back and my butt and my legs against the wall, or I could just put my butt against the wall as I go down into the tuck, then my low back, then my mid back, then my upper back, trying to keep the shoulders just off the wall. This one has better carryover to the freestanding one, but it's obviously much harder. Okay, then I'm going to work partial range. So exactly the same drill, but I'm just going to go down as deep as I can and push back out again. So test the water with this one, just go down a little bit, go back up to your straight handstand. If you're against the wall, it will just be going up to heels touch the wall. If I'm freestanding, I will just go back to my normal straight position and then come down and go a little bit deeper and then back up. A little bit deeper again, and just keep going deeper and deeper as long as you can get back up to your straight handstand and test how deep. You could come down to a target and like touch with your tippy toes or touch with your knees. It just gets a bit tricky to get the target at the right height and to not collapse onto it. And now we can try the concentric, so the going up from the bottom. Now at the bottom I could use a little bit of momentum to help me up, or I could just have a slight riser, so you could put your tippy toes up on a yoga block or a mat or something and just test if you can go up from the floor. Now I can do this against the wall. Now against the wall I can move my hands a little bit further away. Just make sure that you do turn the fingers out so it doesn't hurt the wrists and stay in that strong position. You shouldn't collapse between the wall and your hands. And again, I could make this slightly easier by letting the legs go apart instead of keeping them together, but ideally they would stay together. I can do the same thing with single legs, and I can do the same thing from a kneeling position. Now with the kneeling position, you could go up and straighten the legs so you're in that start of the tuck. This is actually quite good to use a little bit of momentum as well, and will help you through the movement. You can then progress to like a deficit tuck, which will definitely help you towards the Stalder. So a deficit, you could either raise the hands, or you could make it more like a tuck planche, so you don't straighten the legs all the way as you come up. This could also be done as an eccentric only, so you could do your normal press on the way up, and then eccentric down through that tuck press, tuck planche position. If you struggle with the concentric, the other thing you can do is use a jumping movement, so even more momentum to get through the sticking points, and then just do your real slow, controlled eccentric on the way down. So to recap, just make sure that you have great mobility for this. Constantly work on that upper back, thoracic mobility, the squat mobility, especially around the hips. Even if you've got a freestanding, still work that chest to wall tuck drill where you come down to 90 degrees. I'll link to a video in the description where I go through specific mobility exercises and also a follow along for the tuck. So you can make sure you can not only hold your best position, but you can also enter and exit. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions about the tuck handstand or the tuck press or handstands in general. Thumbs up will be appreciated, and make sure you subscribe for more tutorials, follow along sessions with my training, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks guys.